Like, that's literally what I thought. And I was like, oh, wait, I think he's talking about the body. I was like...
I mean, it wasn't that long ago we watched Mickey 17, right? Maybe a couple months.
Yeah, I was like, considering we were doing it every fucking week, and then you scaled it back, and now we're like, okay, we'll do it once every couple months. Honestly, after like the 10th one, I thought you would like, okay, well, I'm done with this.
Thought I was going to throw in the towel.
Yeah. Mostly because of the editing part.
Yeah, the editing is tough.
That's honestly, I was like, well, the content itself, I think he doesn't mind. I think it's just the editing part is like, he's going to lose interest because it's such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Mister, you better use a fucking coaster and don't even use it yourself.
What are you talking about?
Almost every time I try to put shit on here, I don't use a coaster. You're like, you need to use the coaster. This is why I have them.
I'm using a coaster.
You just freaking weren't.
For a couple seconds. It's going to suck doing this with my phone, goddammit. I even spent the time to increase and bold the font on the thing so that I could read it better. And then the printer takes a shit. Welcome to the Desert Lair, episode 19. I'm Dustin, a functional misanthrope. Dylan's here. He's a mostly functional nerd. This week we're talking about Full Metal Jacket. Although before we get to that, talk about news.
Call of Duty's talking about making a live action movie. And after they announced that, of all people, Steven Spielberg himself was like, okay, I want to direct your movie. It's kind of a given that he's going to have full creative control. And they're like, no, we don't want that. One of the greatest directors of all time is literally like, yes, I want to direct your movie. The fact that you hesitate and literally say no just because you don't want to give creative control.
I mean, I get you want to make the movie you want to make. But at the same time, if Steven Spielberg comes knocking, you can work things out with him. Who are you going to get that's going to do a better job at directing a major blockbuster war movie? I mean, are you holding out for James Cameron? Like, what's,
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the ultimate goal of anything you invest money into is to make a profit. Just having that man's brand on something is like, I wouldn't say 100% guaranteed, but it's like some of the greatest movies of all time have been directed by him. The likelihood that your movie is going to succeed with him at the helm is substantially greater than what some random guy you're going to get.
I'll give some points for artistic integrity in terms of we want to do what we want to do.
Update for the Mass Effect TV show. They kind of released what the setting's going to be, which is after the trilogy, which is good and bad, I guess. Out of all the other ones that have adaptations from books or games or something, writers always have to do their own thing, and everyone hates your guts for it. So the fact that you're going to do it after that way you have a lot more creative liberty to do what you want, I feel like is a good thing, because if you know your writers are going to just do their own thing and not follow the overall premise of...
I mean, you have some creative liberty with Mass Effect because, in essence, you can make a bunch of different choices. There's 3 different endings, so there is creative liberty there. You could make a super interesting TV series on the Mass Effect games. It almost feels like a waste. You're not just going to use that material.
If it's going to be after the trilogy, is Commander Shepard, either male or female, where they're going to be your main character, or is it just some random person? They tried that with Andromeda, where they picked like a new person and no one liked them. They just felt forgettable.
Part of the reason it was forgettable wasn't just because of the new character, but because completely new setting. And I won't say that just having a new character by itself is going to make it a failure. If you make something interesting and you're already in this world, and essentially you're making a sequel, I would say you almost don't want to rely too heavily on the games at that point. You want to take that existing lore, you want to take that existing universe and make something interesting with it, not try and rehash what was already done, because then you might as well just make the games instead of the sequel to the games. What I hope is they have good writers, they spend an adequate amount of money to, because here's the thing, there's no way you're going to make that show cheaply.
There's no way, no.
You're going to have to spend a lot of money in order to make that show. There's no way around it, really, unless you're making a fucking bargain basement pile of shit.
With all the different alien species and the super high-tech sci-fi stuff, if you're going to do it justice, it can't look like garbage. I saw this thing Boeing is officially adopting as part of their flight training program to actually use Flight Simulator. The simulator is getting so realistic now that it's just as close as like the actual practice thing they're using, which is
Yeah, I mean, if you set Flight Simulator up with all of the joysticks and the pedals and all the buttons and stuff, it's probably pretty damn close. I think I was on a United flight the other day, and in their app, they have a thing where it's like a game you could play to land their planes.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I didn't have anything. I haven't looked at news in a while. I have watched a bunch of things. I watched some horror movies for October, and then we didn't record in October, so I watched Scanners from 1981. It's another David Cronenberg movie, so I'm still kind of trekking along with those ones. Synopsis here. A scientist trains a man with an advanced telepathic ability called scanning to stop a dangerous scanner with extraordinary psychic powers from waging war against non-scanners. This movie's a cult classic. I think they made 4 sequels to this movie. I don't know that any of them are any good. This one's in 4K, so the 4K transfer looks good. This movie is basically people using psychic powers to explode heads. The head exploding in this. Like, imagine if you put a stick of dynamite in an extra juicy watermelon. That's what the head exploding in this movie looks like. Like you're in the front row at a Gallagher show or something. They're just like giant water balloons. I get why people like this, the glory of the exploding head, especially in the first scene where one explodes. This movie, I'll say 3 stars. It was kind of entertaining. The plot was entertaining and exploding heads. Next movie I watched here, Family Plot from 1976. So this is an Alfred Hitchcock movie. This was the one I bought on Black Friday. It was in 4K. Synopsis for this movie. 2 frauds seeking a woman's heir cross paths with another couple planning a kidnapping scheme. It was a moderately entertaining thriller. That's about all I have to say for this one. 2.5 stars. Next one, Marnie from 1964. This is another Alfred Hitchcock movie. I think they've released a ton of Alfred Hitchcock movies in 4K. I have a pack of them, and they've released a bunch more of them. Another Black Friday one, 4K transfer looks good. Synopsis for this movie. Mark marries Marnie, although she is a habitual thief and has serious psychological problems, and tries to help her confront and resolve them. This movie stars Sean Connery, and the plot is basically a man has to save a woman from herself. The misogyny in this movie is off the charts. I mean, it's an interesting timepiece to watch, and it's an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's entertaining to watch. It would be suicidal to make a movie like this, I feel like, in today's climate. Again, it was an interesting time capsule. 2.5 stars for that one. Next one I watched here, Candyman from 2021. So this was directed by Nia DaCosta. It was co-written by her and produced by Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele, of course, has done Get Out, Us, Nope. He's a fairly well-known comedian. Like all his movies, this is a horror movie with a heavy emphasis on social commentary. The problem is this one just really beats you over the head with it. They're screaming it with a bullhorn, more or less. All the social commentary here, gentrification, inequality, police brutality, they're all things that need to be talked about, and I have no problem with the message. It just, again, there's no subtlety at all in this one, I felt like. So it also suffers all the same problems of every other horror movie that's set in modern day, with supernatural events happening on camera and cell phones and witnesses in the middle of the daytime. It's, it just requires a lot of suspension of disbelief. So 2.5 stars for that one. Next 2 movies I watched, Hellraiser 1987 and Hellraiser II from 1988. I'm sure there's a lot of things to talk about thematically with these movies, but I mean, the interesting thing here is the visuals. All of the creature designs, all the Cenobites and all the stuff. The visuals are the interesting part of these movies. The second movie especially, there's a lady who's basically in this skin and muscle suit because she doesn't have skin and she's covered in blood. Like it looks really good, especially in 4K. This is another Arrow release, so I think it's the first 4 Hellraiser movies.
A lot of the Dead by Daylight killers are based after the famous horror ones, and Pinhead is one of them.
Dead by Daylight, I think, does a pretty good job at taking that and doing something pretty interesting with it. The other stuff visually, like all the labyrinth stuff, looks pretty good. Actually, watching these movies, they're maybe not the greatest movies. 2.5 stars for both of them. Next movie I watched, Addams Family from 1991. This is part of my childhood. It might be a little before your time. Do you remember Addams Family or watching the movie?
Yeah, were they in black and white?
No, that's the TV show.
Oh, okay. Then no, I don't remember this.
Rewatching this movie, I would say it's actually a children's movie. Now, I'm sure I would probably get some argument on that just due to the macabre humor and there's some sexual innuendo, but I don't really feel like it's that much more than the old cartoons that we used to watch. Like, I don't know, man, don't shelter your children. Despite being a children's movie, it was still entertaining. It had been a long time since I watched this movie, but it's childhood nostalgia. 3.5 stars for that one. The next one I watched, Five Nights at Freddy's from 2023. Based on a game of the same name. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. That's about the extent of what I have to say. It wasn't so bad it was good. It was watchable, I guess.
Kind of a side thing. In October, there was this streamer that live streamed all the haunted houses for all the Hollywood studios, and they went through all of them, and one of them was the FNAF, and I thought it was pretty good. That one was really cool because they have a lot of like really advanced animatronic stuff in there. They have water, so if they get you, they'll freaking spray water at you. Which I thought was amusing.
It actually sounds pretty cool. 2.5 stars for that movie. It wasn't the worst movie. The next movie I watched, Dunkirk from 2017. So I watched this one with Pops while he was in town. Directed by Christopher Nolan. Movie was filmed on IMAX film and 65 millimeter. This movie looks awesome. The large format film is used to really good effect here. The 4K Blu-ray on my 77-inch OLED just looks amazing. There's a bunch of sweeping scenes of the ocean, the beach, the sky. It looks really good in this on IMAX film. The amount of detail you can see in the costume textures are all really sharp looking. It's just a great looking movie. Also, it's a great sounding movie. So unfortunately, Christopher Nolan, for some reason, thinks his movies are better without Atmos or thinks they don't need them. He's wrong, but he's Christopher Nolan, so he gets to be wrong. I don't think the IMAX format has Atmos. I think it's just 5:1, so something like that. I know this. If I'm a movie studio, I don't give a shit who you are. If we're churning out a major blockbuster war movie, I don't give two shits about your artistic intent. If we're putting out a home video, it will have Atmos, period. This movie 100% would have been more immersive if it had an Atmos soundtrack.
I don't have Atmos, but I can't disagree. The rare occasion I do watch a movie like that, I could definitely agree with what you're saying.
That being said, the 5:1 track on this is still really good. It could probably be an LFE demo on my home theater. There's one scene where this ship is capsizing. We probably registered a small seismic event in the movie room. So the 5:1 track is pretty good. It doesn't detract from the movie. It would have been more immersive with an Atmos track. The initial gunshot in this movie, the opening is silent. Man, I had the sound turned way up. And that initial gunshot crack, I think it startled both Pops and I. Both like, whoa. It was pretty good. This was a fun movie to watch. The movie itself, there are probably better war movies. I would say 3 stars. If you have a good display and a good home theater, 3.5 stars. Next movie, so this is one that you and I both watched with Pops, The Man from Nowhere, 2010. So this is a South Korean movie. The direction and score of this movie aren't great.
I was confused about where this is. Like, I understand the intent of what the character was going to do, but why all of a sudden out of nowhere do you decide to, there's so many things, like, why was he there? Why was someone who, in the previous job he was at, all of a sudden out of nowhere, like, oh, I'm going to give everything up to be a know-nothing, like, pawnbroker or something, like...
Well, his wife died, I guess. Honestly, I think the biggest problem I had with this movie is just the music. Like, it's so over-the-top, melodramatic, just hammy almost.
Yeah, have you ever watched the K-drama? Soap opera level of, like, contrived. And just over-the-top dramatic for no reason.
So you think some of this is just culturally Korean storytelling?
Yeah.
Essentially. Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to take your word for that. There's a lot of scenes, though, that are supposed to be these dramatic scenes. And just between the over-the-top music and the overly dramatic stuff that's happening, it's just painful to watch some of these things. And they're painfully long, especially the ending sequence. I almost had to fast forward. I was pretty close.
Yeah. The whole thing reminded me of some animes where it's just, they really try to tone up the how bad it is for the main character and all the characters, and then how way over the top evil the bad guys are to the point of it is virtually impossible to like them or relate to them in any way, because they just want to, like, this person is the hero, this person is the evil asshole they have to get rid of.
There's no nuance.
There's no nuance whatsoever. This is the hero in every way. He can literally murder people, and they just these people he's killing are so evil that just straight up murdering people in cold blood is like doing the world a favor by getting rid of them.
Do you want to assign a score to this movie?
Like a 2.
I'll say a 2.5. I'll be slightly more generous.
Several times he's fighting against multiple guys, and the guys in the back have guns, or the one guy in particular, who I'm assuming is also a very skilled professional, waits for him to take out every other guy and then decides to put his gun down when the guy has no ammo and he's completely exhausted. And you're like, I need to get rid of this guy. Do I shoot him with my full magazine, or he obviously can't jump out of the way and do some ninja stuff? Or nope, I'm going to put my gun down and have a fight and then lose. Like, that whole
Because I'm a consummate professional.
Yeah, I was just like, no, you're a professional. You get the job done. Not, I'm going to evil in the playing field because out of nowhere, all of a sudden I have to follow the path of the warrior and have to be, honorable. Like, you didn't show that to the rest of the movie.
Yeah, definitely some plot contrivances. I'm going to go get the chalkboards because I forgot. Chair move.
Here's this guy I work with, and we have a certain amount of chairs, and they're not for everyone. And every shift, the person who shares the seat with him moves it. So every day, first thing when I come in, I just see him monkeying with the chair for a good 15 minutes, trying to mess with the lumbar, the height. I'm like, just move. When at the end of the day, move the chair to a different thing, and then if you don't like the other,
rotate chairs.
Yeah.
Then you can watch someone else dick with the chair. So the next movie, again, is another movie that we went and watched with Pops, Predator Badlands from 2025. So I think Predator and Alien merged franchises in the 90s with comic books, and that's where these Alien versus Predator movies started. In a lot of ways, it makes sense. Predators are the ultimate hunters, and aliens are kind of their ultimate prey. I kind of get that there's a precedent to merge these franchises. Personally, I'm not a fan of merging universes and franchises in general. I'll save my rant about DC and Marvel. In this particular case, it's not that egregious necessarily. Part of the problem with this movie, though, is there's a lot of comic backstory missing. It raises a lot of questions of how a society of tribal hunters somehow have the most advanced technology in the galaxy.
Even the first Predator movie, they're space hunters, but you're tribal. And I was just like, okay, this is getting really mixed themes of what you're going for here.
At least, though, the first and the second movie, you don't necessarily know enough about them. You still have some ambiguity, not being on their home planet, not having all this information. But now that you're on their home planet and all the scenes they show, where are the engineers? If you just have this entire society of tribal hunters, who are the brains behind all of these machines? So the comics, I think, explore this. I almost think if you were going to do an Alien vs. Predator movie, you probably should have just gone back and did an origin story of the Predator species, because there is actually a lot of interesting stuff in there, and you could have made some really good movies. And then you could have made this movie later on, and you wouldn't have people wondering, what in the fuck is the deal with this universe?
I don't know. I guess I have a little more light novels where the predominant part of the species is the hunter or the warrior type, and then the infrastructure casts. All the people who make the primary part of what makes this society powerful. So all the warriors, they're all at the top. And then everyone else is the engineers, the builders behind the scenes, and they don't really show that very often. They briefly explain it in several ones.
This isn't explained at all whatsoever. I mean, even the Klingons of Star Trek, we get to see their engineers every once in a while. Again, there's backstory behind this, but they tell you none of it. Make a goddamn origin story movie or something, since we like origin stories so much. A lot of the Alien movies feature androids very heavily. Arguably, some of them are more about the androids than the actual aliens. Robot and or android science fiction is my favorite subgenre of science fiction, so I have no problem with the android stuff. I like it quite a bit. The android characters are just as important as the Predator characters in this movie. Elle Fanning plays both of the android characters, the android sisters, Thea and... what's the other one's name? Tessa. I like the Thea character in this movie, or rather, I like the Thea character, but maybe just not in this movie. This movie has serious tonal problems.
I completely agree.
It's been Disneyfied.
It goes from being the solo powerful hunter in survival of the fittest or you die to the power of friendship will win the day.
Yes, exactly. The Disneyfication of either of these franchises does not make sense. And this love and friendship and your puppy dog-eyed monster all together in love and friendship is like, what the fuck is going on in this movie?
It's like, okay, like, it's really hard, like really struggling.
It was nonsense. This is a movie that they took and turned into a Disney movie out of the fucking Alien franchise. You took an Alien movie and you turned it into a Disney movie. It's just nonsensical. It doesn't fit at all. To me, it's just an insult to the franchise and to the fans of this franchise, especially the Alien franchise, because I like that one quite a bit. Alien movies are some of the greatest movies of all time. The original and the second one. Not that all of the Alien movies have been good or great or whatever, but none of them were a Disney movie. You can't just take the Disney formula and fucking apply it to everything, especially not an Alien franchise movie.
One thing that made Aliens more interesting, several of the characters die. Well, the one with the Marines, you just look at him, it's like, these people are all going to be cannon fodder, aren't they?
They specifically used all the androids because it's violence against a robot. So you're not killing people, you're destroying robots.
At a certain point, it's like, do we want to make it so only the main character lives or everyone lives? It's like, there's got to be some sort of equilibrium between those two.
Man. Do you want to do scores? Let's do scores. Here's what I would say. If you remove the Alien and the Predator franchises, and this was just a new original Disney IP, I would give this 3 stars. But with these franchises and the Disneyfication, like, make no mistake, this is a Disney movie. The Disneyfication of this movie, of these franchises, 2.5 stars.
One thing that I hated about this movie was in the first 5 minutes, he loses all of his weapons except his iconic
plasma sword or whatever the thing is.
But it's just like, okay, you want to feature that prominently, but it's just like his bow. You could have done so many things with that. Or the enemy goes out of their way to use his cryo grenades. He eventually gets back to the ship. You can't find those. You have the most advanced technology and you don't have GPS trackers on stuff. Like, like some of those things that don't make sense. It's like, okay, you want to be an awesome predator. I'm going to do it with all one weapon. No, like,
you were just upset because they had all this cool shit and you didn't get to see him use it.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. It's like, you're the most advanced species of technology and just, nope, I want to get rid of it. We like, because we can't afford it, or
I got a fucking sword.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like so boring. Like, come on, show something more interesting after like the numerous Predator fucking movies we've had.
All right, yeah, I mean, that's fair. I'll give you that. This movie, I don't want Disney in my Alien franchise. No thanks.
Yeah, it kind of went from sci-fi / horror to the power of friendship.
This almost seems like it would fit, even though I haven't watched them, I assume it would almost fit as one of these new Star Wars TV shows. How similar is this to Mandalorian?
Yeah, I would say this is honestly getting closer.
I mean, if you look at it in terms of not plot, obviously the plot itself, but the Disney message, the kind of high tech fighting different things, but probably nobody or very few people actually really die. And they don't show the violence. Like, it just seems like it would be similar to a Star Wars thing. So just give me a new fucking Star Wars IP then. Like, don't ruin my Alien movies. The next movie, Full Metal Jacket from 1987. This one is directed by Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick, one of the most influential directors of all time. 2001, A Space Odyssey, this movie, he's got a long list of credentials. Film looks great in 4K. They did a very good job with the transfer. Synopsis for this one: a pragmatic U.S. Marine observes the dehumanizing effects the Vietnam War has on his fellow recruits, from their brutal boot camp training to the bloody street fighting. Lee Ermey was originally hired just to be a consultant, but he's an actual drill instructor, and so he was almost kind of auditioning for the part at the same time, and so he replaced the guy who was going to be the drill instructor for this. I don't know that anyone has ever played a better, more convincing drill instructor.
No, and I say that with absolute certainty because I literally have been to not in the Marines, but
yeah,
I've been to basic training. And yeah, I've met several of those actual people in real life who do it for real. And yeah, it was just...
Supposedly, he wrote a bunch of his own dialogue. Kubrick wanted it to be authentic, and obviously he's a drill instructor, so most of the dialogue was stuff that he wrote.
There are some differences when I was in, but the authenticity of what it feels like, what the overall background and kind of atmosphere of what that feels like is very similar.
Now, there are a couple things obviously boot camp in the Vietnam era is a little different than it is now. You probably aren't going to get away with choking someone nowadays, even in the Marine boot camp.
You can't physically harm trainees, or you can't harm them. You can't say horrible, demeaning things to them. You can yell at them and tell them they messed up.
I would assume that boot camp for Marines is maybe a little more hardcore than the rest of the service. The movie starts and they're all having their heads shaved, which they all look miserable, and it looks like an awkward situation, which I assume is basically exactly how it is.
Yes, and even you probably didn't notice, but you see like the way they manhandle them, taking a zero razor to your head with no subtlety whatsoever.
No grace.
It hurts. I will never forget that. The guy who cut my hair has the Guinness World Record for the most haircuts ever.
If you could call that a haircut.
Yeah, it's not. It's painful. It's just like drilling into your head.
Already it sets the movie up. I'm sure it accurately portrays that. So they're standing in the barracks. I want to read some of these lines because they're maybe some of the best lines in a movie, and Lee Ermey is awesome. First of all, he finds the black recruit in the barracks, and he immediately calls the guy Snowball. And then there's this racist line about how he's going to be unhappy because there's no fried chicken and watermelon served in the mess hall. Joker, the main character, mutters something smart mouth kind of under his breath a little bit. And so he says, "Who said that? Who the fuck said that? Who's this slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant? Nobody, huh? The fairy fucking godmother said it? Out fucking standing. I will PT you all until you fucking die. I'll PT you until your assholes are sucking buttermilk."
That is 100% how it happens. You don't want to fess up? Everyone will do PT until they do.
I mean, it's so awesome. Him screaming immediately. So Joker admits to saying it. And then he says, "I admire your honesty. Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister." And then he asks Private Cowboy where he's from. And he tells him Texas. And he says, "Only steers and queers come from Texas, Private Cowboy. And you don't much look like a steer to me. So that kind of narrows it down. Do you suck dicks? Are you a Peter Puffer?" I'll bet you're the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around. There's so many awesome lines in this first scene of the movie. So he goes to Leonard, the overweight guy. I assume there's no way you would ever get into boot camp looking like Leonard does nowadays. During the Vietnam War, standards were probably a little more lax, so they get the guy in, they need to get him out onto the battlefield, whatever. They're going to run him through and do the best they can and hand the guy a rifle. So the drill sergeant, Hartman, walks up to him and says, "Did your parents have any children that lived?" He tells him yes. He's like, "I'll bet they regret that. You're so ugly you could be a modern art masterpiece. What's your name, fat body?" And then he, of course, asks him, "Do you suck dicks?" He's like, "Sir, no, sir." "Bullshit. I bet you could suck a golf ball through a garden hose." They're like the best insults ever.
That part is funny. It's just they take that so seriously now. because suicide is such a huge deal.
Lawrence, who he's now calling Private Pyle, which is Gomer Pyle from the Andy Griffith Show, which I don't know how many people under 35 are going to even know what that is, but
I've heard of it, but I mean, I've never watched it.
yeah, so I actually have watched that great grandma's house on her old black and white dial TV. He's trying his best not to laugh, which I'll admit, I could never do it. I appreciate all the people who go in the service, but there's just no way I could ever do it. I don't do well with authority, especially not rigid authority. There's no way I could sit in this barracks with this drill instructor screaming this stuff without laughing. It would be impossible.
What an instructor does was they'll say stuff in general and they'll try and get you to laugh. Then when you laugh, then you get in trouble, and then they'll get you on your face, and you'll be doing push-ups until you can't anymore.
I understand why this guy is cracking a smile, because it's almost impossible not to laugh. I don't know how any of the other guys aren't laughing. After that, he tells him, I'm going to give you 3 seconds, exactly 3 fucking seconds to wipe that stupid-looking grin off your face, or I will gouge out your eyeballs and skull fuck you. He can't stop laughing. He's got this smile still on his face. He makes the guy get on his knees and then choke himself with the drill instructor's hand. There might be a little bit of physicality still in the Marines boot camp. You're not fucking choking someone in today's world. Like, it's not going to happen. You'd have your ass handed to you. So after he's done choking him, he tells him, you had best square your ass away and start shitting me Tiffany cufflinks, or I will definitely fuck you up. Just this entire first sequence is probably has some of the best dialogue in any movie in the first 10 or 15 minutes. And his delivery of these lines, Lee Ermey, is fucking perfect. So Pyle, he keeps fucking up. So in one of the scenes, they're all marching. He's marching with his pants around his ankles, like sucking his thumb as they're marching down the thing. And then later on, they find a fucking jelly donut in his footlocker.
There's so many. Okay, number one, you can't ever bring food out of the dining facility ever, and it's to the point where if you get caught, everyone gets in trouble. To where if another trainee sees you doing it, they will literally stop you. Like, no, you're not taking that out of here. You're gonna throw it away. Even if like it gets the attention of the other instructors, like yeah, it's just because everyone will get in trouble. Further along, he makes it so every time he screws up, everyone else gets punished.
Well, it's after the jelly donut thing, because he's just had enough at this point. He's tired of this guy fucking up. And
we didn't have to the degree of that guy messing up, but we had someone when I was there who was kind of a screw up, and he couldn't get it together, and he wouldn't do things to the adequate level of what you're supposed, like what our instructor expected you to be. So every time you mess up, we all would have to do PT religiously. And it got to the point where we absolutely did not do the hazing thing, which they do later. But we more of just like, dude, what do we need to help you with to make this better? Which part of the main character, Joker, he's like, okay, like he tries to help him and like makes it do. That's what it'd be. It's like, what do we need to do to help you to at least get to the a passing thing to the instructor doesn't make us do so much PT to where we're just dead ass tired.
The jokes are that Marines are crayon eaters. They're into that joke themselves. The green one is their favorite flavor. But in this case, Lawrence is probably not fit for duty. Obviously, he's not fit for duty in a physical aspect, but and not just a psychological aspect either, but a mental capacity. He clearly has an intellectual disability. I don't know how it was during the Vietnam War. Maybe because they were conscripting people, they're going to take anyone regardless of whether or not. But in today's world, there's zero chance he would have, even ignoring his physical unfitness, there's no way they would have taken him. He clearly has an intellectual disability. During the Vietnam War, they were drafting people. So that's probably not a thing, or at least not as much. Now, they talk about Section 8ing him, which I assume is like medical leave or psychological leave or whatever it is. But that doesn't happen. Again, I don't know if because of the draft, they ignored that. I don't know what the standards were back then. But to me, he's not fit for duty, period. But he screws up enough, they give him a blanket party, which essentially is where they throw a blanket over him. They use the blanket to hold him down, and they put soap inside his socks and just beat the shit out of him with this thing. And even Joker, who has been trying to help him, he's fed up enough to where even you could tell he's torn about it, but he's so pissed off as well that he ends up joining in, whacks him a couple times with his soap. So after this, Lawrence cleans up his act, kind of, or at least he seems like he's doing a little bit better. And he can fire a gun well, apparently.
The part where he is literally talking to his gun like he's a person. Dude, the moment the other trainees saw that, I would immediately report. Like, there is some serious mental health problems here that need to be addressed immediately.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about the Section 8 thing, and it's like, man, someone needs to step up and say, we need to do something about this. There's going to be a problem. And of course there is. They finish their 8 weeks, their very short 8 weeks, or very long 8 weeks, as I'm sure it is to them and anyone else who's been through it. They're essentially at the end, and he has the night duty. Joker does, whatever that entails. And he goes into the bathroom, he finds Lawrence, and he has a gun, talking to himself. Joker's trying to figure out, like, what are you doing, man? Like, we're going to get, our asses handed to us by Hartman. And he just kind of starts to go apeshit. Hartman comes in, and Hartman, who at this point, like, if there's a guy and he's pointed a loaded gun at me and I know it's loaded, first of all, I already know he's off his rocker because there's no chance he's in his right mind if he's pointing a gun at the drill instructor. The last thing I'm going to do is antagonize him.
Yeah, that whole scene was like, okay, you realize that you have led, you were the primary cause for this scene, which this would never happen because 1, you're only given real weapons at the shooting range. 2, you're only giving live ammunition just to do your test to make sure your marks, like if you pass or fail your marksman thing, and then they like quadruple check to make sure you fired all of your bullets, and then immediately take your weapon away from you and give you a training weapon, which is non-operable.
Yeah, so I don't know how it was back in the Vietnam. So maybe he had an operable weapon. I still think it's unlikely he would have had live ammunition. He probably would have had to have smuggled that from somewhere. Maybe back then they had an actual operable weapon. Maybe they didn't have training weapons. I don't know. The ammo part, again, you had to smuggle it or something. But still, Joker tells Hartman, like, he has a loaded gun. And he's pointing this loaded gun at you. Man, I am not dicking around with this guy. Like,
I'm trying to diffuse the situation,
yes,
not antagonize him further.
So exactly what you expect would happen happens, and then he commits suicide, which everyone saw this coming a mile away, and this guy really had no business being here in the first place, and they should have gotten him out of here at some point. The rest of the movie followed Joker. He's this journalist. The next scene, he's in Vietnam, and we see him, and this prostitute rolls up. So, I mean, it's already making me laugh because they're negotiating with this prostitute, and anytime there's a prostitute in this movie, they're negotiating. Is it just me? I don't know. It seems a bit surreal to me. Someone negotiating, like haggling price over sexual services. Like I don't know. It's kind of a bit surreal to me.
I just have to assume they don't have a lot of money and they want to spend it on cigarettes. See, like sex, cigarettes. So I'm going to haggle to try and get both.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It just, again, it's an interesting scenario to me. So she rolls up, though, this prostitute. So this is one of the most pervasive, famous lines. Me so horny, me love you long time. Obviously, it's a very racist scene. At the same time, it's still funny. It made me laugh. I'm sorry, but it made me laugh. I bet there are a ton of people who know what this is and have no idea where it actually came from.
Probably not. Kind of the overall shift, at least for me, the first part of the movie up until that point, even since the first time I watched it, I'll never forget. And then after I went to basic training myself and then rewatched it later, the second half of the movie, I barely remember. I watched that movie like 4 hours ago and I barely remember the second part of the movie.
As compared to the first part,
yes,
which is burned into your mind. We're following Joker now. He works for this journalism...
Stars and Stripes.
It's a journalism department. Their purpose is to report about the war. But of course, there's an agenda behind it. The agenda is to make the war look good. And Joker has a very negative opinion of the war. And so he's kind of always at odds with his superior. He wants to kind of report the war as it is. His superior is just do what we tell you to do, basically. So they have this attack. And it's interesting because even though he has this negative opinion, he still has to defend their base. Their base gets attacked and he goes out and he's got this fucking machine gun they're out there with, right? And he's just hammering on this thing, trying to mow people down with it.
You are still in the military, and
Yeah.
if there's an attack and you just don't do anything, you'll get court-martialed. So
Yeah, so I mean, he's defending his base. Whatever negativity he has, he is still doing his job as a soldier. He kind of gets into an argument with his superior, and his superior's had enough of it, so he essentially sends him to the front lines, or what would be an active combat zone. And of course, the reporter with him has not really seen combat, and he's itching to get out in combat and wants to go with him. And if Joker tries to argue against him going, but the superior sends them both anyway. They're flying in this helicopter, so they're flying to wherever they need to go. And of course, they have this asshole who's on the machine gun, and he's just shooting at women and children, essentially. This scene is extremely critical of the racist attitudes of the time, and also the dehumanizing nature of war as well.
the global war on terrorism, terrorists will literally give children grenades and ask them to walk into freaking U.S. military unit.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a different scenario when you're flying overhead in a helicopter with a machine gun and you're trying to mow down anyone who's moving.
Oh, yes.
This guy brags about it. He brags about killing these people. He doesn't differentiate between combatants and non-combatants. It's just everyone. He just assigns them all as Viet Cong. It's something that happens in every war, realistically. Maybe not essentially the mowing down civilians part per se, but just the racism and the dehumanization. There are several reasons behind it, but part of it is a coping mechanism. It's something that even the military has a part in because they have to condition you to dehumanize the enemy. If you're trying to take a normal person and turn them into a killer, you have to condition them. They go to find this mass graveyard where they've killed all these people, and they're interviewing someone, and he seems kind of just nonchalant about it. And the colonel comes over to him and starts talking to him. And so the colonel tells him this: "We are here to help the Vietnamese because inside every gook there is an American trying to get out." Not only is it obviously extremely racist, but it's very presumptuous and even a little bit propagandic. He's almost trying to justify the reason why they're there. Every war has propaganda, obviously, as well, on all sides of it. In the U.S., with the journalism and stuff, that's propaganda, right? All their reporting of, they're trying to portray the war in a positive light. You know, that's all propaganda.
If you're a journalist in the military, your responsibility is to the military first.
Yeah, you know, you're not getting journalistic integrity from a soldier whose job is to report on the war. The rest of the movie explores just kind of the brutality of war and the psychological impact it has on the soldiers. We see a bunch of them die and how the rest of them cope with those deaths. Joker clearly struggles with the war, and he has to make a hard choice at the end of the movie, which showcases his duality between the peace and the born to kill thing. He has to make a super difficult choice and shows how he, in a way, is kind of lost himself.
When Joker finally re-meets Cowboy after the time and he's in the unit, and then Adam Baldwin, I don't know if it was like one of his first movies, but dude, he just got typecasted to the extreme. It's like every single like soldier, like the guy is the same freaking character in every movie. It's insane.
I also like how during that scene, they're hanging out with a fucking dead body.
Oh, yes.
Like, again, just there's this dehumanizing theme throughout the entire movie. There's a lot of stuff that you can explore with this movie. I don't think there's a whole lot more I want to talk about. Mainly, I think the primary thing was the beginning of this movie. And also, again, the movie does what it aims to do. It shows the racism, the dehumanization, and it's very critical of the war. Is there anything else you want to talk about with this movie?
There was the suicide. This movie really highlighted the mental aspect of it, and there are so many changes that have happened since then. And one of the biggest things they talk about in the military is suicide. And if you feel it, if you you see other people exhibit the symptoms that you think they have, report it immediately. And it was just, even 30 years later, it's still a problem. Right before I went in, the flight who was in my dorm before me, there was a suicide.
I mean, which is crazy to me, going into boot camp and you're just, what stage are you at in your life where already you're going to suicide, like at the beginning of the thing?
Well, there's the medical screening includes like the psychological and kind of like the mental stuff, and they kind of ask you questions and can you handle this? Do you firmly believe if you're exposed to this certain thing, can you handle the stress and you won't break? The first half, you could definitely see this is where this is going. This guy is going to suicide or have a psychotic break. Pretty much in the first 10 minutes, you could tell this is where this was going.
Yeah, like he's not going to hack it.
I don't want to harp on that subject too much. It's just
it's still a thing. Suicide is still prevalent in the military.
Yeah.
Scores. So I gave this movie 4 stars.
I really struggled between 4 and 4.5. There was a lot of good things. It just the second half of the movie, it did not have the impact that the first part of the movie. It's almost like 2 separate movies here. The first one is exceptional and everything leading up to it, everything going around it, and there's just like, oh, there's a time skip. And if the first half of the movie didn't happen, I was like, it'd be a terrible movie. Like there's like no like such a huge divide between the first and second half of the movie where it's just like a huge time skip and so much stuff happens after that. And so I gave it a 4.5, mostly because the authenticity of like even today, like a lot of the stuff that was in the first half really hit home.
So I would put this to you. Now, the first half is very authentic because you went through it, but you didn't go through combat, especially not
No, I did not.
Vietnam era combat. There might be some more authenticity to that to people who actually went through it.
I'm not taking away that part. I'm just saying what the tone they were going for in the first part compared to the tone where they're going for the second part. And I feel like it's really in your face in the first part, and the second part it's a different kind of, we're trying to present this in a way.
So you think there was kind of a tonal mismatch between the first half and the second half of the movie?
Yeah, I mean, you do bring up the dehumanization part, and I feel like that was prevalent, and that was the overall message. But it's just there's like a tonal shift, and I just don't feel like they presented it as well in the second half compared to the first half.
I get that. The first half was totally in your face, and then the second half, it's not quite the same tone. I mean, I would say it kind of sets the tone for the second half of the movie when he commits suicide, but I definitely get that. The first part of the movie is almost a separate movie. The boot camp stuff is accurate, it's hilarious, and it's critical at the same time. I think it was all done exceptionally well. But the movie does do a good job portraying the dehumanizing effects of the war, the psychological impact that has on the soldiers. I agree with you. I don't know that this movie is necessarily the best depiction of war in a movie. It does do what it intends to do. It shows the dehumanizing nature of war. It shows the racism. I feel like it sets out what it intends to do, and it does it well.
I was going to give it a 4, but I get a little extra because the first part of the movie was just iconic, and I don't think I've ever seen the movie do as well good a job of portraying that as that one has. So
yeah, it's exceptional. It's also an effective critique of the war. I agree with you. The first part of the movie is very iconic. The second part of the movie, I'm sure people would argue is as well. It's not quite the same. I liked this movie. Obviously, you liked at least the first half of this movie. Anything else you wanted to talk about with this one?
no.
All right. Later, man.
Yep.
I didn't know you had actually seen this movie before.
We actually watched it in basic training.
I was like, how did you erase your thing? And then I realized, oh, you have 2 sides that both say your name on it.
Yeah, and you're the one who said not to use halves, and you used the half.
No, I said not to use the 0.5s. Want to use the halves, like 2.5 stars.
Then why was...
Well, that's what I said is don't use the decimals.
Oh, okay.
Do use the halves because the halves are like stars. You know what I mean? 2.5 stars, 3.5 stars. It's not 3.5 stars. It's 3.5 stars.
I have seen 3.5 stars.
Well, I know, but I mean, in terms of movies, it's 3.5 stars. Which a lot of times I keep not following that myself. I'm trying to.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess because y'all use half then, whatever.
I mean, it's whatever. I fuck it up too because I'm used to putting decimals, so the like 3.5 thing is weird. What I'm going to do is like glue magnets to the back of these, and then I'll just get like little star and half star magnets that we can put across them or something.
Oh.
Because I'm tired of all this chalk everywhere that's just making it a mess, and I don't have the proper eraser, so it's just we're smearing chalk instead of erasing the chalk. Oh man, the printer. I need to fix that thing. Trying to read off my phone is obnoxious. But also the printer being a piece of shit is obnoxious as well. There's a reason why Office Space is a thing.
No, it's because the printer on the Office Space was because they kept eating papers and
they're
fucking attack.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, printers just notoriously have problems. But the reason why that's a thing is because everyone can relate to that. It's always something with a printer. I'll put it that way. That's why there's Office Space exists. I bought a massive stack of Criterion Channel movies. Black Friday. I like most of them in there at least, but some of them I don't know if I'll torture you with making you watch them.